Good day, everyone. I'm Mango Thunderslice, and today's message is the hard truth about white privilege. So this, I just kind of feel, is necessary at this point. It seems to be the hot topic du jour, and all these people, basically rioting and raging and just, unable to process the results of the election, trying to justify their worldview, in the face of this defeat for, their candidate Hillary Clinton. And I think that this is really, really important because this is the primary tactic that the media and the powers that be use to control people, is to divide them, divide and conquer, as they say. And this is it's really important that, as I've said many times, that we stick together at this point, that we realize that we are all one people, the entire species of the human race. We are all engaged in a common struggle. And it's not black versus white, it's not versus Asian, there's a story that we've been evolving through. Everything in the world is a narrative, right? It's a story. I have a story of who I am and where I come from, and the stories that we tell ourselves actually govern reality in a sense. I might not be able to tell a story and change the radioactive decay of carbon-14, but I can change my own social reality. I can change my circumstances for the better or for the worse, depending on the stories that I tell myself and the effect that those have on me. And, what people, this whole thing about white privilege and, all the race stuff going on emanates from something that is very ingrained in the academic world. Of all the schools today, pretty much from kindergarten to college, especially college these days, it's all in this politically correct categorization scheme of how we treat people, how we talk about them, and basically it's cultural Marxism. After the ideological battle between capitalism and, the free market and, socialism and state control of the economy, after that collapsed, the Soviet Union collapsed, basically. And actually, this transition even happened before the Soviet Union collapsed, but they realized that they were not going to win the battle against the free market and against people's liberty and freedom by just arguing with them, because it's fundamentally irrational to believe that the government can control this or that and make things better. It just doesn't happen, and there's no evidence that it ever will, because it never has. It benefits a few people, so the government can take from some and give to another, but it can't just give to all, like out of nothing. Tell that to our central bank, but they think they can do that. And here we are. We have an economy that does not benefit a lot of people, most of the people, and we have an economy that benefits a very small percentage of people. They call them the 1%. It's more like the 0.1% or the 0.01%, and those are the people who are connected to the core of the economic structure and, where money comes from. They just print money, you've probably heard. Yeah, literally, they just create money out of nothing. There's no gold to back it. There's no real value. It's just paper, and it says backed by the full faith and credit of the United States government. So it's a trust scheme, and they give out money to people that are connected to the system. It is sort of a club, and we all are being disenfranchised as a result of that, because the money, we use this money, when we produce things and, we do things for people, but they can just print it and give it to themselves. This is the evil of the system. And it does negatively influence black people. It negatively influences a lot of people. In fact, all of us are kind of financial slaves to this system. Okay, so there's legitimate grounds for grievances, and there are genuine problems in the society of fundamental inequality and access to resources, and the fundamental resource in this case is money. But what doesn't exist is a racial divide of white privilege just discriminating uniformly against, black people in all areas, and that's the explanation for them, for the people who believe in this kind of cultural Marxist narrative. It's all the fact that there's inequality between black people and white people is because the white people just have access to this white privilege, and so their success is more likely to be guaranteed, and they don't have this force of racism just constantly keeping them down. And racism is a real thing. You're not going to hear me arguing that racism isn't a thing, but there's a difference between practical acknowledgement of the differences among the different shades and colors and aspects of the human race, and he's saying that we all need to have the exact same outcome. It doesn't matter about equality of opportunity. We all deserve equality of opportunity. No matter what my skin color is, and no matter what your skin color is, we all deserve the opportunity to live as we want, to pursue happiness in our own way, and build a life that, brings us satisfaction. But what we do not have a right to is people giving us free things, whether it's the government or whoever, just so we all end up at the same level of income or the same social status. Like, people make different decisions. And here's the core of the issue, is that Black people and white people have, in general, different cultural spheres, right? Okay, there's just general manners of speaking, there's activities that, white people and Black people just, they have their own identity, their own social collective identity and standards and ethical standards, moral standards, communication standards, dress standards, and it's very much these differences which cause the inequalities that we see, far more than any institutional racism in every police department and every level of government, okay? You can't say that it's white privilege, that it gets used for anything and everything. And the fact is, Black people are disproportionately targeted by the criminal justice system because, in general, Black people have more of a tendency to commit crime. It's just, you can't dance around that fact, okay? It's just a simple fact that if you're stealing things and you're killing people and you're doing all these things that are against the law, you're going to have a higher rate of incidence of dealing with the police. And it's the sheer fact is, it goes back to the 1960s, actually. Before the 1960s, the mid-1960s, there was a lot of equality. It sounds weird to people to say that before the 60s there was more equality between white people and Black people, white families and Black families, but in a sense, yes, before the Civil Rights Act, there was actually a lot more equality between the Black American family and the white American family. They were both mostly two-parent households. They subscribed to the same kind of religious, sphere, religious institutions. They go to church, they get married, and they were graduating from schools in, similar rates. But then, ironically, after, the Civil Rights Act, things just diverged wildly. And now, at this point, it's like 70% to 80% of, Black children are born to a single mom. And that's really the cause of the problem, is that kids are being raised and they don't have any sort of genuine constructive imprint in their mind set for them of what is acceptable behavior and how to build your life and get ahead in the world, okay? The three best things anyone of any race can ever do to just ensure that they have the same access to the prosperity of the free market capitalist system, and not forever be just in this slave mentality, and constantly being in jail and dealing, you don't want to be part of the underclass that is totally disenfranchised because it also is unable to take any responsibility. And the 3 points of responsibility to virtually guarantee that you won't live a life of despair and suffering and have to constantly be playing catch up with the consequences of your actions is simply, number one, graduate high school. For all the defects in the public school system, just actually completing high school will, basically give you at least a raw set of tools that you can get a job. And that's number two, is get a job afterward. Don't rely on, some other person or the government to create your sense of, ability in the world, all right? Humans, they have to work at something. They have to be productive in order to be happy. And there's Jackson. Hello, buddy. Black Lives Matter. That's what I'm saying. Jackson is my black son, all right? And So the point is that it's actions that have consequences. All right, you can't just say that every time a black person is poorer than a white person, it's because the white person, just the system is just showering rewards on the white person. All right, I've had my instances with police, and in general, yeah, people don't look at me distrustfully when I go into a store, but people give me weird looks all the time. People are just weird. It's none of your business what other people think of you. Okay, that's something I learned when I was doing sales. Is you got to lose that constant anxiety of what other people are thinking about you, because it's none of your business. You can present yourself politely and correctly, and have a general sense of just presentation, how you present yourself, the way you dress, the way you speak. Are you speaking like you want to be hanging out with T-Pain? Like, are you dressing like, wearing basketball jerseys to job interviews? Like, or are you going to present yourself in a composed manner so that you'll be received in a better way? Take some accountability no matter what your skin color is, and you will get better results. All right. So, there's also the government aspect of things. One thing that came out of the, kind of Marxist social revolution of the 60s was, welfare. And what welfare does in terms of incentives to people is it rewards them for destructive choices. Okay, so, giving up, if you give a man food, like he'll eat for a day, if you teach a man how to grow food or how to hunt or fish, they'll eat for a lifetime, but you can't just expect to give people free things and that's magically going to make the situation better. What matters is that people's decisions start to change. Okay, so the biggest, the biggest, if you're a black individual watching this, I mean, this is the ultimate responsibility comes down to the actions of the black man and the actions of the black woman. All right, no, it's not white privilege that's forcing black fathers to get a black woman knocked up and then leave. Okay, that's an individual choice. Nobody caused them to do that. You can't rationalize that away as saying, oh, it was society that oppressed them, so he got her pregnant and skipped town. Okay, take some responsibility and the universe will give you more energy as a result. All right, it's having books in the house is the single most being. Oh yeah, and so the first one was finish high school, so 2, get a job, and 3, get married before you have kids. All right, it's that simple. That's going to provide the structure for the child to at least have a stable sense of identity, and to have a pattern set in their mind of it's not okay. It's what is normal is mom and dad being together. What is normal is being accountable for your actions. What is normal is actually controlling yourself for the sake of successful interaction with other people. But if it's and if anybody's lived out in California or anywhere, the ubiquitous large black woman who's a mother to kids that are just running around Walmart and screaming and knocking everything over, and she does nothing to stop them. Do you really honestly believe that kid is just, he's going to go on to be a wildly successful, businessman or whatever it is? Like, if you don't set the pattern early on, it won't, if you don't plant the seed, the plant's not going to grow. And in this case, the seed is the values of civilization that have got us to where we are now, okay? It's being able to talk to people without just shutting them down because you disagree with them, having constructive, critical conversations and debates, and so really, in order to move forward as a society, we have to recognize that this cultural Marxist type thinking is really what's holding black people back. It's not the system, okay? There's, like I said, there's aspects of the system that are screwing us all over, and that's, a huge reason why Trump even won in the first place, is because people recognize that there's this whole just culture of corruption, and it's bled from the very top down to the bottom. We have rap culture, okay, and it's rap culture is the ultimate incarnation of rape culture. It's just like take no account, just make money, doesn't matter what it takes to get it, get the money, like, and so there's, you don't see art in that realm coming forward saying, like, there are some really good, hip hop artists who are bringing a higher level of consciousness into it, but, we have to just take accountability for ourselves. And ultimately, the Irish were enslaved the same as the blacks. Yes, we, because our skin is light, we could, integrate with the system. But, it's every generation has these waves of immigrants, and it's, the people who do take accountability for themselves and just work hard, and they make their own life, they control their own destiny. They successfully integrate, and they lead happy lives, constructive lives. But as long as we're willing to be deceived and deceive ourselves that, oh, it's just the system that oppresses, them, and that's why there's, Asians make more money than white people. Is there an Asian privilege? Like, is our society geared to benefit Asians structurally, fundamentally? No. But it's because Asians have a culture that goes back 5,000 years, and, they have, and not to say that every culture that goes back a long time has constructive values. India has a lot of problems, though its culture is ancient, but it's that just a productive ethic that takes accountability for its actions, and the social pressures, especially when it comes to having children, okay? At some point in like the late 60s going into the 70s and 80s, it was like, it was acceptable to be a baby mama. Like, it's female empowerment to be a single mom, because marriage is a sign of the patriarchy, and it's how women are subjugated by men. This is what I'm saying. Like, this cultural Marxism is a disease of the brain, all right? And I don't mean for that to offend anyone. I also don't care if it does. But it's something you got to cure yourself of, and having a healthy attitude toward money, having a healthy attitude toward marriage, having a healthy attitude toward work, and taking pride in your work, and not just seeking to skirt responsibility wherever you can. These are the things that matter, and it's decisions made either in that vein or outside that vein that determines the results that people have. There's some messed up things that can't be, attributed just to work ethic that happen in the world, but they're generally individual cases. And, in pursuit of justice, we'll always be listening to those people and trying to help them out wherever we can. And that's what I'm doing. I've listened to a lot of things, but it's very clear to me that the left needs to kind of grow up a little bit and realize that you can't just, try and shut down everyone who disagrees with you because you call them a racist, okay? There's deeper levels of truth that we can access as a species, and it's going to bring us a wonderful paradisical life. But first we have to wake up and grow up and, stand up for that which actually is the basis of civilization, which is that we are our brother's keeper, that we value who we are and what we do, and it's not just this external imperial structure that's responsible for our destiny, it's us, okay? And so with that, I hope you have a wonderful week. Wholeness and balanced vibrations to you all. Cheers.